Welcome to the apocalypse, and welcome to the end of all things. If you're like me, you love post-apocalyptic movies, and you like to think you might be a survivor in one of those post-apocalyptic worlds. But there are some worlds that no one should want to survive into. Full stop, period. From twisted humanity to just absolutely no hope at all, here are the top 5 worlds where you wouldn't want to end up a survivor. For each of these, in a few words or less, I'll describe why you wouldn't want to be a survivor in this world. And then I'll go on to describe in more detail what that means. So let's get on with the list. Number 1, the divide. The only word I can really use to describe the divide is psychotic. If the idea of being trapped in a basement for the last few days or weeks of your life with 7 other people, as a few of you go completely insane, sounds like a good time, this is the world for you. This movie got panned pretty hard because of the depravity that the characters sink into. But I think, trapped in a basement with limited resources and no hope for survival, somebody's probably gonna lose their shit. And in this movie, lose their shit they did. This movie made me feel more uncomfortable definitely than any other post-apocalyptic movie I've seen, and maybe more than any other movie I've seen, regardless of genre. There is absolutely no Hollywood ending, and the character's depravity gets to a point where it's difficult to watch. And due to that depravity, this is not a place that I or you would ever want to be.
Come on, Sam.
Number 2. Number 2 is the day after. And the word for this movie is inescapable.
What's going on?
Those are Minuteman missiles.
Like a test, sort of. Like a warning?
They're on their way to Russia. They take about 30 minutes to reach their target. So do theirs, right?
There are some post-nuclear movie worlds that I wouldn't mind surviving into if I had to. The day after is not one of them. This 1983 movie was extremely influential, to the point where the US House of Representatives passed a resolution urging ABC and some of the intelligence agencies to find a way to allow Soviet citizens to watch this film. Following a handful of families in the build-up and the aftermath of a nuclear strike, this movie really drives home the devastation and the inescapability of a demise in a post-nuclear world. From neighbor turning on neighbor to the effects of nuclear fallout, this is not a world that ends well for anyone that survives into it. Number 3 is actually 2 movies, 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. There are 3 words that sum up these movies, and I hardly need to expound upon them. Fast fucking zombies.
Running from the infected. Jack Hanna! It's our time! Forget the Jack! Just lift everyone! Grab hold!
While zombies might be a slight misnomer when it comes to this movie, because in this world, they describe people as being infected with something called rage. I mean, look at that thing though. That's a zombie, right? So for the purposes of this list, these are zombies. Another thing that makes this world terrifying and why you wouldn't want to survive into it is just the complete inability to control and handle the situation, to get this infection under control. Well, at the end of the first movie, it appears to be more Hollywood-like in that there's a hopefulness that goes on.
Think you saw us this time?
By the end of the second movie, that's completely destroyed. So I think this world, the soundtrack, and everything about it really paints a future that is bleak, one that you aren't gonna get very far in, and because of that, this is a world into which you wouldn't want to survive. Number 4. Number 4 is The Road. The word for this movie is gray.
I think it's October, but I can't be sure. I haven't kept a calendar for years.
This is probably one of the most bleak movies on this list. The reason the word for this movie is gray, from lack of food to desperate people and just the depressing grayness, this is not a world you'd want to be in. I think this movie really sets up that old adage, hope for the best, expect the worst. And I say that because you watch this father and son just dredge through this world of thing after thing that just sets them back and attacks them and is just horrific, only to get to their destination, and it's very anticlimactic. Not the movie, but their journey. And I think that also makes this very, very depressing. It makes this a world you wouldn't want to live in. There is nothing at the end.
I'm sorry it's not blue.
There is nowhere to go. And that's what really makes this movie terrifying. Given that your vicarious experience of this world is either through the lens of the father or through the lens of the son, neither one offers anything that would make it hopeful or make you want to survive into this world. The father, who has the ability to look back and see the world as it was, compared to the world that it is, or the son who only knows the world as it is, I don't know which one's more terrifying. But in all seriousness, it's grayness.
Sometimes I tell the boy old stories of courage and justice.
And number 5, On the Beach from 1959. There's a strange sort of serenity or peacefulness that comes with watching people come to terms with the fact that they're gonna die.
You like that?
Settles the stomach. I had a lot to drink.
I had a lot to drink. And Julian had a lot to drink. Julian and I are the town drunks.
What are you trying to forget?
Well, it's a damn silly question if I ever heard one.
This movie is set in the late 50s, post-nuclear war, where nuclear fallout essentially is already killing them. And they know it. And they're the last few survivors. And they're essentially just living out their last few days, which is terrifying. And that's what makes this a world I wouldn't want to be a survivor in, and neither should you. No one's surviving in this world. From the images of domesticity at the beginning of the movie, to the complete and utter emptiness at the end. This is a world that no one's gonna survive in, and it would be absolutely horrific to be part of. It really offers a complete and stark view of what the world would be like if there was a full-out nuclear war. There wouldn't be any survivors. It's not gonna end in fire, though there was fire from the bombs. It's just radiation. It's a whimper. It's people just kind of go off to die. It's a very stark and very dark viewpoint on the end of the world, and not a world I'd want to live in. So there we go. Those are 5 post-apocalyptic worlds you wouldn't want to be in when the end comes, and neither would I. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with this list, and if you disagree, what would you put on the list and why? Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you in the wasteland.